Hi guys, and welcome to today's video. In today's video we'll learn all about the direct selection tool and the group selection tool. So let's hop inside. In the last lesson we spoke about the regular selection tool, or the V tool, that allows us to choose an object, to rotate it, to enlarge it, decrease or increase the size, and all of that in the last lesson. Now underneath that tool we've got a direct selection tool, or shortcut A on the keyboard. What this does is you could also select the whole object with it and move it. Let's just give it a color to make life interesting. So as you can see, I'm able to select these tools. But the difference between this tool and the regular selection tool is that with this one I can't enlarge or decrease the size of the object, and I can't rotate it, but I could do many other things. And this tool is meant essentially to hold these little icons here, which are called anchors, and every single object is made out of at least one anchor. The anchor is the join. Every single object is made out of at least one anchor. An anchor is essentially the join between two lines or segments or paths. It could be round lines or could be straight lines, and that's what joins those two. So with this direct selection tool, I can select this joint and move it. Notice the one that I've selected is filled in with a color, unlike the other unselected anchors are white. It won't necessarily be blue in yours, it depends on the layer it's in. So if I create a new layer and I draw a new object here, you can see this is in a red color. Let's go back to this direct selection tool, or shortcut A. I'm also able to select a few in one go. So you can see now the whole thing is selected. All four are filled with color, and therefore I'm moving the whole thing as one. I can click and hold down shift to keep on selecting certain anchor points within this object, and now you'll see only those will move and this one stays in place, and that's how I'm able to change any shape into all different shapes. I can also select several anchors by clicking away from the object and holding down. You can see this box being created over the desired anchors, and now I can move only those two selected ones. Now by holding down shift while I'm moving it, and I'm not leaving go of the mouse, and I'm holding down shift, will retain the position of that anchor, so it will keep it within 45-degree angles. As you can see, if I'm moving this with shift, now I can only move it in these areas, either aligned with that anchor or aligned with that one, or within a 45-degree angle of any of them. There is also another way of moving these anchor points by pressing your keyboard arrows. You can move it. You can see there I'm pressing the arrow or holding down the arrow to move it. These arrows move one point at a time. If you want to increase the speed of it, then you hold down shift and the arrow keys up, or whichever direction it may be, and it will move it in 10 points at a time. So that really helps if you're doing very accurate things on your design. I'm just zooming in with Alt or Option and scrolling my mouse. You can select one and you can see if I move it with the mouse, so it's a lot easier to move it in a accurate than like trying to move it around with my mouse. Now notice this is all with a square object. Let's just delete this. With a circular object, you will see there's also anchor points. Just getting my direct selection tool. There are also anchor points there, as you can see, but this time they have handles. These sort of bars, unlike these ones in a circle, you can see these bars. These are what make these circles. We'll learn about all of that in another lesson, but you can hold any of these handles and pull in or twist or turn. You can even hold the keyboard space while moving to move the whole point completely, and you can get all different shapes. You can also change any anchor point from a corner to a smooth point, or from a smooth to a corner, by choosing the anchor point. And on the panel on top you'll see these two icons. that converts it to a corner or to a smooth. So this is already a smooth one because these lines are rounded. You can change it to a corner and you'll see you getting this corner point. Or here, let's say I can change this to a round one and you'll see it changes to a rounded point. Also, when you're on one of these corner points, you'll see you can change these corners. You have many options here. You can change the roundness of it or the shape of the corner. You can get some cool effects. We'll learn about it in another lesson as well. Now, last thing on a corner shape. So let's just get this rectangle and give it another fill. Now you can see that all these round dots. We spoke about that in the last lesson. Just pressing A. And you can hold down any of these points and it will round the whole shape. So it makes these squares rounder, or to make it square again. Then just pull it back out. You can also choose to do it only to one point or one corner, either by pressing on this anchor and then moving it. That'll change only that one. Or otherwise you can select this circle itself and move it, or also only move the one point. Now you can always come and delete this point. So I can go to this point and just press backspace or delete, and that'll delete that point. So now it's an open shape. We'll learn about open shape or closed shapes, but this is like, it's still a shape. It's not a line, but it's open. You can also obviously use any of these lines, and with this direct selection tool, select these points and move them around as needed. With this tool, you can essentially create anything. I'm just pulling and dragging over all these to delete them. I'll just demonstrate. You can say create a circle and holding down shift to keep its proportions. Then you can always go to this one and convert it to a corner point and then pull it, and you can change, and you've got a teardrop or water drop, whatever you want to call it. In case you aren't able to select these anchor points or the shape or whatever it may be, could be because under view you've got hide bounding box checked, so you'll see show bounding box, or otherwise maybe because of show edges there. So if you see show edges, then you might have to click to make it hide edges, and then you'll be able to select them once again. Now let's start learning about groups. So let's just create, for example's sake, a shape here. I'm holding down shift to keep the proportions, and let's create a triangle. So you can see this is a star tool, but with these arrows up or down you can add or lessen the angles, and that's how you make a triangle. And then holding down shape, holding down space, you can move this shape any way you like. So I'm just doing it quickly to have a good example here. Don't worry about what I'm doing because we'll learn about all of this at some other point. Now with the Alt, I'm just duplicating this shape and pressing Ctrl or Command D. I'm making this go around the circle. Click on this, send backwards so it looks better. Let's just add a fill to this, and there you've got this interesting shape going on here. You can see it's not exactly in the center. Now once I've got a few shapes or elements, whatever this shape may be, you can click and drag over them or choose whichever one you want to create a group. To create a group, you press Ctrl or Command G, that's a shortcut, or you can right click and then choose group or ungroup. And now as you can see, when I'm using the regular selection tool, this works all together as a group, so I can resize it as a group or duplicate this whole thing as a group, etc. So this is completely grouped together and is considered like one single element. I won't be able to select a certain element within. If I want to change this yellow color inside, I wouldn't be able to because it's all grouped together. I can either ungroup it or double click with the regular selection tool. I can double click to go into isolation mode. Now this is isolated. We'll learn about isolation mode, and then I can always click and change this color to whichever color it may be. But there is a much easier option with this direct selection tool. You can choose and select any object you want. Even though it's within a group, you can easily select it and access it and change its colors or positions or size or anything you want. There you go. Now, say I click on this and I make this into its group on its own, and this into another group, and all of this into another group. So these are all grouped together a few times. This is like a group within a group within a group. So once again, I can always go to the direct selection tool and select these, no problem. But there is another tool for managing with groups. Honestly, I don't really use it that often, but you can leave in the comments below if you use it for anything, any ideas to use it for. This is meant for anytime when you have a group. That's why also doesn't have its shortcut of its own. As you can see, most of these tools have a shortcut, a keyboard shortcut, but this one doesn't. You could always add a shortcut to it if you want, like we showed in the shortcut lesson. You can go to edit, or under Mac will be under Illustrator, edit and keyboard shortcuts, and you can give it a shortcut there. This group selection tool is meant for when working with groups. I can click on any element within a group, as you can see, just like the direct selection tool, it's selected, no problem. But if I click again, it will choose the whole group, and if I click again, it will choose the whole group of what that's in, and if I click again, I'll choose the whole top group, and so far and so forth. As you can see here, that this is like a group within a group within a group. So let's just demonstrate it here. You can see I've chosen that there, those are all selected. If I click again, then it shows that one above that, and again that chooses that, and again it chooses the whole main layer group, and it can go on forever, depending on how many groups you want. So it's just helpful. With this group selection tool, you can't change the size or anything. You could change the color or some of those stuff, but that's why I think it's a lot more convenient. If you're using the regular direct selection tool, then you can access this group selection tool holding Alt or Option. As you can see, it changes to a plus. That's the group selection. Then I can choose that group, say, and then go back to leave go Alt or Option, and I'll go back to my direct selection tool. You could also use this group selection tool to select multiple objects, even though it's in a different group, by holding down Shift. So I clicked once, now hold down Shift, I can choose on another thing and another object, even though it's different groups, and I can choose a few other elements here, and then leave go Shift, and you'll see they're all selected. Then I can always use the direct selection tool or the regular tool and move these around. So that's also a helpful tip, and that's basically it. Just one last tip I'll give you: under edit preferences or Illustrator preferences for Mac, you would have this selection and anchor display. Here you'll be able to change a few of the anchor settings. We'll go over it at some lesson, but this tolerance is how close you have to come with your mouse to select this anchor there. So if sometimes it's too close or too small, I'll just demonstrate. I think the highest is 20. You can't go higher. So you can see when I select with this regular direct selection tool, once I come close to that anchor, I can select it even from there. You can see, because it's within 20 points, it just makes it easier. Sometimes if there's too many, so it gets hard and complicated, you can see that it's like too overcrowded. Just going back there, I think 5 is a nice number. I think maybe by default it's 3, I'm not sure. Then you can also change the size of this anchor point, how it will look, and the handles, how they will look. So you can make it very big and you'll be able to see them very clearly. Like you can see here, that's huge. And you can see it's a lot clearer while it's very big, if you wanted to have it like that. Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. That's enough for today. If you gained anything, please give a like and subscribe, and remember to leave your comments or questions or ideas. Thank you so much. We'll see you in the next video.